Hi all, welcome everybody. I'm Cristiano Gersi, CTO for LiquidText. Thank you for joining us today. We will have a lot of fun listening to Craig Tashman, our founder and CEO, and try to answer some questions and so on. So, without further delay, I will turn over to Craig and enjoy the session.
Thank you so much, Cristiano. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. We really appreciate it. We know you have busy mornings or evenings or whatever time it is in your local time zone, and we really appreciate you taking out some time to spend with us. So again, as Cristiano said, I'm Craig Tashman, founder and CEO of LiquidText. And what I want to do today is give you guys a little bit of an introductory webinar into using our product. So the first thing I want to do is give a short background on LiquidText itself, just spend a couple minutes, tell you a little bit about where we came from and what it is we're trying to do. Then get to the fun part, demonstrating a basic use case with you guys. Talk a little bit about best practices, talk a little bit of, actually it's not even on the list here, but talk a little bit about the OCR that we just released today, and spend about half the time or so with any questions that you guys have. So with that said, what is it that LiquidText is about? Well, computers help you to find great content, right? There's great search engines, all kinds of indexing technologies to help you find the best content. And of course, there's all kinds of great products coming out every day to help you compose great content. But what is there to help you try to understand, digest, make sense of the content that you find? Well, how do computers help you with this? Do they even help you with this? Well, the sad truth is that in a lot of ways, they don't. 80% of knowledge workers and a similar proportion of students tend to prefer paper, reading on paper versus reading on digital. Well, gosh, that's pretty striking, right? It means all this technology we've created in some ways is making digital reading worse. Well, why is that? Well, we studied this a lot. When I was back at Georgia Tech, I got my doctorate studying the way that people read and understand long, complicated documents. And what we found was that most digital reading works by building on and replicating the experience of paper. And as a result, it tends to inherit the limitations of paper, but without really inheriting the benefits of paper. So with LiquidText, we said, let's approach this differently. Instead of trying to build on and replicate the experience of paper, we're going to study how the brain works, actually start from cognitive science and build a reading and note-taking experience based on what we need rather than just what we've had in the past. So 4 years of research later, 2 peer-reviewed papers and a doctoral thesis, we wound up with LiquidText. The hope that we have with this is to help you find information faster, take better notes, and discover connections between information that you otherwise wouldn't have seen, right? We want to help you be more innovative in your reading and note-taking. So we launched originally in 2015 for the iPad, and over the past 18 months, we launched on the PC and the Mac as well. We've been fortunate to win some wonderful awards from Apple and been written up in a bunch of nice places. Law 360 even called us world-changing, which we're very proud of. But enough about our background. The fun part now, let's go into a little demo. So for the purposes of this demo, let's go head over to LiquidText here. Okay. So we're going to do a live demo for you guys. I'm actually doing this on my iPad right here on my desk. And let's take a little story. Let's say that you are a lawyer representing a client who just had a stem cell procedure done to relieve her hip arthritis. Unfortunately, it didn't work. She just got a little bit of inflammation for a couple of days and the arthritis didn't get any better. So now she's come to you. So you have to try to figure out what's going on here. How can you build a case? And so we're going to do that in LiquidText. So this is the LiquidText home screen, and we have different projects that we're working on. So I'm going to start by opening the McCaffrey stem cell case. And here we are. So this is the LiquidText editor screen. And let me just walk you through the pieces of it to start with. On the top, of course, you have your toolbar, and we'll show you some of the features that you can do there in a minute. On the left, you have your document sidebar. You see, you can make it, we can expand it and contract it. And here we list all the documents that you're going to use in your current project. In this case, we've already imported them and we've sorted them into folders. Okay. Now, next to that, we have the document, and you could show a couple documents here side by side if you want. And then over on the right, we have the workspace. The workspace is one of the really special things about LiquidText. It's where you can gather all the knowledge from all these different documents you're working on and organize it and aggregate it into a single unified place. Okay, so let's go into our little scenario here. So to start with, again, I'm the attorney. I'm trying to figure out, what happened with this situation. Why did my patient's procedure not go well? So I'm going to go and begin by going to regulatory bodies and try to learn a little bit more about the procedure that was done on my patient and learn a little bit more about whether she was even a good candidate for it. Because in this case, the doctor that performed it after the fact said, she wasn't really a great candidate and that's why it didn't work. Let's find out if that's really true. So I'm going to start by going to my workspace here, make a little text box and write, was this patient a good candidate? ? Okay, maybe we'll just make this red. All right. So we scroll down in the American Stem Cell Association guidelines and we see medical prerequisites. And I noticed something interesting. It says most adults are good candidates for this procedure. Well, that's pretty important. That sounds like, maybe our patient actually was a good candidate. But they do mention that there's a figure 1 that gives a little bit of a more detailed algorithm about who isn't a good candidate. So I'd like to compare this text with that figure, but comparing text and a figure in the same document can often be hard because they're a couple pages apart. Well, one of the great things about LiquidText is we try to make it easy to see all of your content together, to see all the important things together. So I'm going to take 2 fingers and actually squeeze this document like this and crunch the text together so that I can see 2 different pages side by side. And I happen to be doing this on an iPad, but this works just as beautifully with a traditional mouse and keyboard setup if you happen to be using your laptop or desktop. Okay, so we have this nice algorithm diagram here, this nice flow chart. I want to keep track of this. So I'm going to select this image, take it, and pull it out into the workspace, along with that text I pulled out a few moments ago. So notice what's happened here. We now have information from different parts of a document aggregated and organized together into my workspace. This is part of the beauty of LiquidText. Again, let you take the important things and gather them together into the same place. Okay, that's great. So now the question is, now that we have a little bit more information, was this patient actually a good candidate? Well, to find out, I'm going to go back to my document list over here on the left, and I'm going to open the patient medical record. And here we are, patient Arlene McCaffrey. Let's scroll down a little bit, find out a little more about her. All right, so we see that Arlene McCaffrey has diabetes, hypertension, and of course that arthritis in her left hip. So let's make the pen a little thinner here. All right, so as we go through this diagram, we can see she's under 65, she's not immune compromised, no history of carcinomas, but she does actually have hypertension. So that means she's in the closely monitored category. That's interesting. That means maybe the physician actually had a point. Maybe she actually wasn't the best candidate for this. So I'm going to write a little note to myself here. I'll say patient was in closely monitored category. Okay, we'll just connect that. And so you see, I can start taking the important different bits of information and actually snap them together to form these nice groups in the workspace. And one of the nice things about groups is you can move them as a whole. So if I double tap this, I can actually move my group around if I want to reorganize things a little bit. Okay, so now we know a little bit more about the patient and the patient's context and history. Let's find out a little bit more about what the physician actually did. So let's go over and open the depositions folder here. And I'm going to open the surgeon's deposition transcript. Okay, just like this. Now, I'll move this over. I'll make another little heading here, and we'll say what the physician did. And we'll just tag this in red as well. That's pretty important. So I've already gone through this deposition transcript and highlighted some of the key points, some of the major steps that the surgeon took. But I kind of want to see all those steps together to understand the flow and how one point kind of leads into the next. But of course, these are on all different pages and with a lot of gaps between them in some cases. So I'm going to use something called highlight view in LiquidText. I'll tap the highlight view button up on the top left here. And now, as I squeeze the document together, notice what happens. All of the space between my highlights crunches together. So I can bring my highlights together with as much or as little context as I need. This is a truly magical feature that makes it feel like your whole document is just magically and immediately in front of you. Okay, so let's go down here and see what we want to do. So first of all, let's take some of these key points of the actions the physician took and pull them out into the workspace here. So first of all, what did the physician do? The physician created the stem cell culture. Okay, we'll pull that out. Then prepped the patient for surgery. I'll pull that out too. You know, since I'm pulling a lot of things out, maybe I'll just use the auto excerpt feature. Auto excerpt pulls things into your workspace and remembers where the last thing went. So now if I want to pull this out, I can just tap auto excerpt. It'll put it right underneath the previous thing. Insert a joint spacer, auto excerpt, pull that out too. Oh, and then the person doing the deposing the physician asked, did you do anything before the joint spacer? Well, that's interesting. That means this next point about they dried the bone fascia came before this point about the joint spacer. Well, that's really important. And that's one of the nice things about LiquidText. We're not constrained by the order that the author put information in the original document. We can reorder things into the way that makes sense for us and our needs. Okay, so we've now reordered it correctly. Pull out a little bit of information. They applied something called the ICM matrix gel. That apparently is the preparatory gel that they need before they can apply the stem cells. All right, now we go on. They shaved off a bone spur. Seems kind of interesting. They applied the stem cell culture. And finally, they closed the patient up. Well, on the face of it, this all seems reasonable, but you know, I don't know. We need to learn a little bit more. So let's find out. Let's turn off highlight view. And now let's find out a little bit about how this procedure is supposed to be done. See if there's anything the physician maybe skipped. So we'll go back to our little documents panel here. We'll go to Galaxidrin product info, and we'll go to product manual for the Galaxidrin system. Telenova Biosciences, scroll down a little bit, and here we are. And so here we have an overview of the application process. And so what do we see? Well, at first, everything seems reasonable. You know, they did the pre-op, they did the bone preparation, prepare the cartilage, prepare the joint, apply the matrix gel, leave it undisturbed for 15 minutes. Yeah, they say right there, and the doctor did. Remove the gel, apply the stem cell culture, and finish up. Well, on the face of it, you know, it looks like the doctor did everything right here. So I don't know. I'm running out of ideas, but you know, maybe we can find a little bit more by going to the phase 3 clinical trials from when they originally created Galaxidrin, or I'm sorry, when they originally got Galaxidrin approved. Maybe there's something in there that would give us a hint. So I'll tap phase 3 trials for Galaxidrin. Open this up, and now we have all this great clinical trial info. Well, there's a lot of material here. So what I'm going to do is I want to do a search. So I'm going to do a search for inflammation. And I type it in, and doing searches in LiquidText is really cool. You can, of course, tap the little search button on the top right, but you can also actually just start typing, and it'll bring up this really cool search box here where it'll let you search your document, your workspace, other things. So for a lot of the most common features in LiquidText, you can just start typing to access them. It's really nice. So we'll do a search for inflammation here, and it finds a couple instances of it. But I kind of want, again, I want to see them all together so I can understand, you know, if any seem different, if any kind of don't fit the pattern. So again, I'm going to use 2 fingers and pinch my document together. And look what happens. Just like before, all the instances of the word inflammation come together with as little or as much context as I need. This idea of being able to search for a word and then squeeze all the instances together is actually one of the really coolest features in LiquidText, because what it means is that you can kind of pivot a document on a word or a phrase. It makes the whole document just feel so effortless and so easy to search. So in this case, this point here seems to be the one most relevant to our needs. So I'll put my 2 fingers around it and just expand around it like this. And now we can dig deeper into here and see what we can learn. So it says that there was apparently one case during the phase 3 trials when one doctor left on the ICM gel for only 2 minutes instead of 15. And as a result, the procedure failed and the patient just had some inflammation instead. Well, that sounds awfully similar to what happened for our patient. So, maybe this has something to do with it. I mean, we see that the doctor clearly said that they left the ICM gel on for 15 minutes, but, maybe there's something that we're missing here. So why don't we just take this point, we'll just select it, pull it out into my workspace again, and we'll just color this red so we don't lose track of it later. So that's really interesting. But again, the doctor said that he left it on for 15 minutes. So what could be going on? Well, maybe the doctor made a mistake. Maybe the doctor got, just lost track of time. Let's instead take a look at the lead nurse's deposition transcript. Maybe that'll reveal something. So, oops, okay. So just like with the physician, I've already gone and highlighted the key points in the nurse's deposition transcript. So again, I'll turn on highlight view, squeeze it together, find the relevant area right down here, and let's just compare and see if there's anything here that might shed some light on what happened. Well, on the face of it, the nurse seems to corroborate everything the doctor said. If we go down here, talk a little bit about the ICM matrix gel timing, let's find out a little bit more about that. And the nurse, let's see, what does the nurse say? Is there anything here that would potentially be useful? Well, not really. The nurse says very clearly, they left it on 15 minutes, agrees with the physician and agrees with the requirements of the procedure. But, maybe let's compare the nurse's transcript to the physician's. Maybe there's something by looking at them together that will reveal something more to us. So I'm going to take the deposition transcript from the surgeon and drag it in here and actually open it side by side, or in this case, top down, but we can do it side by side as well with the nurse's transcript. And we can look at these next to each other and see if there's anything in here that looks like it might give us some clue as to what was going on. And I actually do notice something interesting. In the nurse's transcript, she mentions that after about 10 minutes, they shaved off a small bone spur on the patient's bone. And the physician agrees that they shaved off the bone spur as well. Okay, that's fine. But what's interesting is that the nurse mentions that after they were done shaving it off, they flushed out the joint with saline to get rid of the debris from shaving off the bone spur. Well, the physician doesn't mention that, but that's really interesting. If that's really true, maybe the saline solution washed away the ICM matrix gel before it had cured. Oh, gosh, that would be incredible. That would open up the whole case here. But we still have a lot more information. We still need to learn a lot more before we can conclude something like that. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take this point that the nurse mentioned and bring it out into my workspace as well. The second thing I want to do, though, is since there's this really important connection between what the nurse said and what the surgeon said, I want to capture that connection. Because one of the critical things that LiquidText is about is helping you discover connections between different pieces of material that you're working on, but not only discover those connections, but capture them as well. And so I'm going to use something called an ink link. An ink link is one of the most magical things in LiquidText. I can draw a line from one document right into my other document, just like this. And so what this means is if later on I'm reviewing the surgeon's deposition transcript and I say, I want to find that material that related to what the nurse had said as well, I can just tap this and it reopens that point in the nurse's deposition transcript. So this is a live link that can crisscross between my different documents. Really something special. Okay, so this is great. I think we might be getting a little bit of a handle on what's going on here. But now we need to find out a little more. We need to find out, is it possible that spraying this saline in there could have actually caused a problem for this procedure? Well, let's go back to the Galaxogen product manual here and see, is there anything that would suggest that? Well, just to be sure, it says leave Galaxogen ICM matrix gel undisturbed for 15 minutes. Okay, that's what we thought, but let's take this out, add it in, make this guy red as well, so that we don't have, so we know definitely that this is a problem. But then again, we don't know definitely it's a problem because we know we sprayed some some saline in there, but could saline actually remove the ICM matrix gel? Is it even water soluble? Well, I noticed we have a material safety data sheet for galaxidrin, and maybe that would give us some clue as to what's going on. So let's take a look through the material safety data sheet. Is there anything here that could be interesting, that could help us? And, I don't know, I'm not really seeing anything here. Oh, I think I found something. Solubility in water, very high. Well, that's important. Let's take this guy out as well, put it in the workspace also. This changes everything. So now we have a pretty clear picture of what's going on. It seems like, let's make a little note actually explaining the situation. I'll tap the little text box button here, make a little note, and I'll say, it seems that the surgeon accidentally washed away the ICM matrix gel before it had cured. Interesting. So this is really important. And so what I'd like to do is, first of all, since this point relates to the material over here, as well as the material over here, I'd like to capture that connection. And so what I'm going to do is draw ink links like this and like this. And so look what's happened. I've actually I can create links not just between different documents, but I can create links between different objects in my workspace. Well, that basically lets me create a sort of a mind map. And so if I were to, let's say, this is a very simple case, we only have just, a couple of objects, but if I were to, let's say, be looking at this point here, I could tap one of these links and it would take me right to the point that it connects to. So you can start interconnecting your workspace. It's really cool, really powerful. But, what if I wanted to create a link, not just between different documents, or not just between different objects in the workspace, but between my document and the workspace, right? This point about solubility in water is really critical. So I might want to, for example, draw a line between the document and this note that I wrote. And look what it does. It lets me create a live ink link between my workspace and my documents. And so later on, if I'm, let's say, in an entirely different location, I can, of course, just tap this little link and it brings me right back to whatever it points to. So now, in effect, LiquidText is letting me create almost my own little private mini internet, connecting all the different pieces of content that are important to me. Okay, so this is the end of our the core demo. But let's say before we're totally finished here, we want to take this material and send it off to one of the other attorneys that we're working with, send it off to the judge. How are we going to do that, right? If they have LiquidText, you could just share this with them. And actually, next year we're going to be releasing purely web-based sharing, so you can just send them a link. But what if they don't have LiquidText? Well, you can go here and you can take all this material and the dangers of doing a live demo using a demo version of LiquidText. So the upshot is you can go to Notes Outline here, and okay. Well, let me show you the one that you download from the App Store does work, but this version is our demo version. You can click Notes Outline, and it'll take all the materials in your workspace, organize them together into a nice linear document, and you can just send that right over to Microsoft Word. Likewise, you can go to PDF file, and it'll take all the materials in your workspace and your documents, compile them together, and you can send them over to your PDF reader. Okay, now this again was a kind of simplified situation here, but in a real situation, in a real case, you could potentially have hundreds or even thousands of these notes in your workspace. So one of the things that you might need to organize them is tags, and we've recently added tagging, and we're really excited about it. So let me just show you a little bit about how you might use that here. So let's say that in this case, that for these two excerpts, we think these steps in the procedure, the surgeon performed correctly. So I'll tap tags here and I'll write review, and I'll write correct. And we'll just go make that a nice positive shade of green. Now let's say here we think the surgeon made a mistake. So we'll tap tags for category, I'll write review, And for name instead, I'll write mistake. And we'll make that a very distressing shade of red. Great. So now we can really easily go on and say, maybe take these as well, tag them, add correct to these as well. And it's really easy to add tags to all of the different items that you've pulled into the workspace. But now the really cool part is if I need to do a search and I say, you know, I have hundreds or thousands of these, I need to find the mistakes really quick. I can just tap tags, select mistake, go over to workspace here and hit enter. And it searches my workspace, finds any excerpts with mistake and lets me just jump back and forth between them, just like this. Okay. So this is our little legal demo here. But one of the things that's really cool that I want to just mention to you today is we actually just today released OCR for LiquidText. So if we close this project here and we go over to a patent that we've opened. And this is a scanned document, so it had no text in it originally. And I'm very excited that now you can actually go through and select text and pull it right into the workspace, just like you would hope to do. The other really great thing is it supports searching. So you can just go to search and type in, let's say, communication, hit enter, give it a minute to search the document, and voila. And so just like anywhere in LiquidText, you can pinch it to bring all the instances of the word communication together, find the one that's important to you, dig in a little bit more deeply, just like anywhere else in the app. And the behavior of OCR is just slightly different between Windows and iOS and macOS. But basically, whenever you import a new scanned document, it'll bring up a little pop-up that asks you what you'd like to do with it. And if you want to dig a little deeper, you can go to Configure Document, go to OCR Text Detection, and here you have options for setting language, for turning on and off instant OCR, for simply selecting text, which is available on iOS and macOS. And if you want to get higher accuracy and be able to search the document, then you do full document OCR, which takes a little bit longer, but it goes page by page and OCR is the entire thing. Okay, excellent. So with this, the last thing I will show you, we'll go over back to our little PowerPoint deck here, is I want to just tell you a little bit about our real-time synchronization as well. So one of the things we're so excited about that we released about a month and a half ago was real-time syncing. So you can use LiquidText on multiple devices at once. And let me just, that's actually kind of impossible to live demo on one device. So let me just play our little demo video here and just walk you through it. So here's an example of a user working on LiquidText on both a tablet and a desktop at once. And so you see she pulls out an excerpt on the tablet, and within about a second, less than a second, it appears in the desktop. See, just like this. And so what this means is after she's pulled a few things out, she might want to use that big desktop to start organizing her notes, right? And so these two devices are both on the same project, and she can pull material around, use that big screen to start organizing and setting things up the way that she needs them, in a way that would potentially be more awkward on a small screen. But sometimes you really need that small screen, right? When you want to do freehand inking. So you can see as she does her freehand inking on the tablet, within about a second or so, you see those changes just appear right on the desktop as well. So the idea is that different stages of your workflow really more demand either a tablet inking experience or a large screen desktop experience. And with LiquidText, you don't have to choose one or the other. You can kind of use them together in harmony. And so, for example, an ink link that you create on your desktop, you can go and even immediately follow it right on your tablet. So the two devices are really meant to be able to work side by side. All right. Excellent. So with that, thank you very much. And I'll take any questions.
Okay, this is Cristiano again. We have a very interesting question from Francesco Rodriguez, and that's the following. Is it possible to anchor the excerpts in the workspace so that when I move the workspace, I don't accidentally move my excerpts or around?
That's a great question. Right now, we do not have a way to lock items in the workspace, but we have had people ask for this, and we've been thinking about it. So generally, you know, the way we kind of designed it is so if you're quickly scrolling the workspace around, the system is smart, and if your finger happens to go down on an excerpt, it won't just start dragging the excerpt, it'll still move the workspace. But we have thought about the idea of actually having the workspace be lockable so that you'd have to, let's say, select an excerpt to be able to move it around. So what I would say is if you guys are interested in that, if that's something that folks want, please write to us. Let's see, can I bring up my contact information? Yeah, please either write to me or write to support@liquidtext.net and tell us if this is something that you'd like. We're also, folks who are on this, who are on this webinar, you guys are all gonna get invited to our LiquidText forum. We just launched it, so you guys are among the first people to get access to it. We're going to be sending you out invites to our LiquidText forum, and there's also places there you can talk about features that you'd like. And so we're happy to engage with you, hear a little bit more about your needs, and you know, see if we can give you guys what you want.
Very nice. Another question from Ronald this time. Any way to sort or organize workspace excerpts automatically?
Another great question. This is something we've been thinking a lot of. So first of all, the answer is right now we don't have automatic sorting or organization for the workspace. The theory behind the workspace was to give you a lot of flexibility and make it really easy for you to organize things the way that felt most natural and intuitive. But we have thought about mechanisms for potentially giving you ways to semi-automate that process, right? So we're actually thinking and talking about a few different options for this right now. We'd love to hear more about your needs and what kind of organizational tools you think would be helpful for you. So again, definitely please reach out to us.
Perfect. Quick question from Christian. Is the OCR available to all versions of LiquidText or only for the subscription?
The OCR is only available in the subscription versions of LiquidText.
Excellent. We have Francesco in his storm of questions. It would be cool to have a sort of switch to enable and disable the anchoring.
Yes. we would be thinking carefully about the UX around that. You know, we want to be really careful because we have a lot of people who already are comfortable with this way of using LiquidText, but we know there are, as you mentioned, we know there are people who are interested in a way of locking the workspace. So we'd have to be really careful with it. But if we were to do it, let me assure you that we're not going to make life miserable for people who've already gotten used to this system. So if we were to add it, we would probably make it optional and give you guys a decent degree of control over it.
Thank you. So we have instead Peter that would like to see again how to reach the OCR settings. And also, which languages do you support for OCR?
Great questions, both. Let's go back here. So to get to OCR, so first of all, whenever you import a new document, it'll bring up a little pop-up message right around here, non-modal, so you can ignore it if you want, but it'll give you an option to set up your OCR for this document. So that's usually the easiest way, but to do it manually, you can tap on over on the left, you see the configure document button, you just tap that, and then you go to OCR text detection. And then you have all of your options right there. And just to maybe explain a little bit more about it. So on iOS and macOS, the way it works is we have something called instant OCR. So every time you scroll to a page, if you have this feature enabled, every time you scroll to a page, it will very, very quickly take a snapshot of it and OCR it so that you can just start selecting text and making excerpts immediately. Now, because it's instant, the accuracy is good, but may not always be the best. So if you find that the accuracy isn't good enough, you can go to full document OCR right here. Now, likewise, if you want to search the document, then you always have to do full document OCR because the instant OCR can't be used for that. So if you tap it, then it brings up OCR entire document for searching. You tap begin, and it'll take a few minutes, depending on how long your document is, and then you're good to go. Now, if you're on Windows, we don't have, unfortunately, the instant OCR there. However, we do have some very nice things, because on iOS, your languages are limited to, if you're on iOS 14 or Mac OS 11, it's English. If you're on Mac OS 12 or iOS 15, then you have a choice of 8 languages. I believe this version will, 8 different language options. If you're on Windows, your options are whatever languages are installed on your Windows device. So in principle, it's pretty unlimited.
Thank you, Craig.
Sure.
We have a bunch of questions here, so apologies if we will not be able to answer all of them, but let's go ahead and fire more and more. Josue, is it possible to sync my LiquidText documents from my Mac with my LiquidText Enterprise from my iPad?
It will be. So LiquidText Enterprise will be releasing an update for that includes all of our new synchronization features, slated for coming out by late next week. So today, no, but in about a week from today, yes.
Excellent. Dan, is it possible after you do a word search to quickly highlight the selected words in the document that I found so that they remain highlighted even after the search?
It's such a great question. We literally had, so the answer is no, we do not support that right now. But we literally had a person ask for this just a couple days ago. We're thinking very much about some ways to incorporate features like that into the app. The person a couple days ago was asking a specific, in fact, when you guys visit our forum later, if you do, you can even see a little discussion we've had about it. The person was asking for ways to automatically highlight particular word text strings in a document as soon as you import it, basically have, kind of predefined, these are the important terms for me, and just go highlight them for me automatically, which is very similar to what you're saying. So I would say the thing that would most help us is either in a direct message or on the forums, tell us a little bit about your use case, what you're doing, what your needs are, and that helps us a lot. And I'll say this just for everyone. Whenever you guys ask for features, the more context you can give us about why you need the feature, it helps us enormously.
Very nice. Jason has an interest on the tag search. Is it possible to search for excerpts with a particular tag combination, not merely a single tag?
So you can search for, yes and no. Let me go and show you a little bit more back in our stem cell case here. So we can, for example, search for anything that's a subset of review, right? So I can tap that and hit enter, and need to go to workspace search, and it will find anything that has a tag that's a child of review. We don't officially support searching for things that have multiple tags at once, but it's probably, it's not far off. If that's something that would be important to you, please contact us and let us know. Like that would not be necessarily particularly hard to include.
All right. And then there is another one. When the results of a search are revealed in the workspace, can the excerpt text be copied?
Oh, you mean like if we wanted to take these guys here and auto copy all of their text?
I believe so.
That's an interesting question. So there's no automated way of doing that. If you manually select these and then tap copy, it will copy the text from all of them into the clipboard. So, but the idea of having it be automatic, I'd love to hear more about your use case and why you need that. We're thinking about a lot of different things in that direction, though not that specifically. So yeah, please just let us know more. It sounds really, it sounds like something that I'd love to hear more about.
All right. Oh, here is a reference manager lover. Is there a way to generate a database of notes from those taken in LiquidText? I currently export to Zotero, but then it's difficult to sort per field. Ideas?
A database of the notes taken in LiquidText, and you want to sort them per field. Well, a couple of points. First of all, we are very excited to say that, as you know, anyone who's followed us on Twitter knows, we're interested in doing a reference manager integration. So we're actually in the process of working on that now, and are hoping to have that out in the coming months. But this specific issue of organizing the excerpts by field, I know we haven't really done that. Cristiano, could you read that question one more time?
Which one?
The last one, the one about that we just talked about.
Oh yeah,
the reference manager.
Yes. So is there a way to generate a database of notes from those taken in LiquidText? I currently export to Zotero, but then it's difficult to sort per field.
A database of notes? No, there is not a way to do a database of notes. There is, if you do the docx export, which is the thing that was giving me a little bit of trouble in our demo version here. That will generate a docx of all of your notes, and that will include the citations. So I would say give that a try. That actually may do exactly what you need. If you need something more than that, please just contact us and let us know. Since we're literally in the middle of working on the reference manager like right now, this would be a perfect time.
Excellent. Stephanie is asking if you can demonstrate again how to organize the documents in the folder using the drag and drop.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just make this a little bigger and more comfortable here. So over on the side, we have all of our different documents, and the way you would organize them is you simply, well, let's say for example, I want to move the lead surgeon or the surgeon deposition transcript from depositions over to Galaxygen product info. I simply hold my finger on it for a moment and drag it right up here, and that's it. If I have something that, if I don't have any folders yet, I just hold, or if I want to create a new folder, I simply hold my finger on the item I'd like to put into a folder, and then I can tap add to new folder, and I'll write, we'll say my new folder. And there we have it, my new folder. And if I don't need it anymore, I can simply drag the document out of it, and the folder will automatically go away.
Very easy. Terence is asking, how well does the ability to squeeze different parts of a document together work with very long documents? Example, a book.
It works really well. We put a crazy amount of effort into the, I'd love to show you, like, I don't happen to have any really long documents in our demo version here, but like, the patent one that I showed you before is like 70 pages, and that's the longest thing I have on our demo system. But like, the other day I was using, multi-thousand page document, and it's instantaneous. And if you want to view like 2 pages that are 1,000 pages apart, it's great. Now, just to give you a little bit of sense of how you would do that. So performance-wise, I can tell you it's fantastic. It's amazing. In terms of like mechanisms and how you would do that, let me show you a little bit more. Let's say we go over to this deposition transcript here, and you say, okay, I want to pinch clasps. Well, I can take my fingers and start pinching, but for a really long document, my hand's going to get very tired, right? So instead, what I can do is I can hold one finger on the document here and scroll on the scroll bar with my other finger, and look what happens. It lets me go and, basically see any 2 parts of the document that I want really instantly, just like that. Likewise, if you do pinch together a little bit, you can always just drag one of these 2 little scroll thumbs here to see any part that you want. So the idea of LiquidText is meant to be, really, really easy to see these different parts of documents and things side by side. Now, if you're talking specifically about like our highlight view, like this, I will tell you that also works really well, even for extraordinarily long documents. We put a crazy amount of effort into making the performance of that stay stable, even at, you know, documents in the many thousands of pages.
Perfect. So another question is, will be a future a synchronized copy of my iPad files that can access from some internet browser in a PC?
Oh, that's a great question. The answer is we absolutely plan to do that. I don't, you know, there's no timetable for that yet, but we definitely want to create a pure web version of LiquidText so you can access this stuff from anywhere without needing to install an app. So I'll tell you, it's a matter of when, not if, as far as I'm concerned.
And Peter is asking instead which OCR languages are supported. Specifically, is interested in Dutch.
Again, that is all going to depend on the device. So on Windows, it's whatever languages you have installed. On iOS and macOS, for iOS, for basically the previous versions of iOS and macOS, it's English only. For the current ones, it's 8 different language choices. And, you know, whenever Apple decides to integrate more into the OS, then there will be more. But let's see, which languages are pre-installed at this point? Yeah, so I'm sorry, it does not look like they've included Dutch in it just yet. But again, if you're using Windows, then you should be, as far as we know, you should be good to go for any language that's installed.
Stephanie would like to understand more about organizations of documents in a project. So the question is, if I'm working on a book project, does it make sense to have each chapter organized as a project? Can you build links across projects for common resources, connected ideas, and so on?
Terrific question. So today you can't build links across projects, but we've actually had a lot of people asking for that. And the changes, so a lot of architectural changes that we've made to the app in the past, you know, year and a half mean that isn't actually that isn't especially hard for us to do anymore. Like, you know, 2 years ago, in earlier versions of LiquidText, that would have been staggeringly hard for us to do. Now it's actually not. So I would say definitely contact us with any more info about, and I appreciate the info you provided, but contact us with any more info you can give about your use case. Ask for that, and we will seriously consider it. So for your bigger question about the best way to organize a book-related project, you know, most people that we've seen, I mean, if we think of something like a textbook at least, they generally import the entire thing into LiquidText and you know, just use different parts of the workspace for analyzing different parts of the document. The way I would, if you're talking about sort of editing a book or a manuscript, and you have the chapters as different documents, I actually might recommend you just bring them in as different documents in the same project here in the document list. That way, each one is a little bit isolated and a little bit separated, but you can very easily create interconnections between them. And if you notice, we go over to the workspace here, we zoom out. You'll notice the workspace, it's a little hard to see with this setting. Hang on here. I'll go to configure workspace. We'll just make this a little bit more visible here. Okay, and you can see the workspace is actually a bunch of tiles. And so what you can do is, and people very frequently use these tiles as basically different pages or sub-workspaces, and just put material for different sections or chapters in different tiles.
Very nice. So now instead we have Christian, who is asking about integration between LiquidText and other productivity apps. And specifically, is asking, will it be a plugin to integrate LiquidText and Obsidian or Notion or other kind of productivity app or software for more complex workflows or search link of information?
Well, the answer is those two in particular, not right now, but we're thinking a lot about the integrations that make sense for folks. So right now, we're really thinking a lot about reference manager integrations, as I mentioned. Integrations into things like Notion and Obsidian, we're probably more, before a full-on integration, we're probably more likely to just provide a nice markdown export option. Like right now, our most hierarchical structured export option is a docx file. And a lot of folks have been saying that that is not structured enough for them. And especially with, kind of personal knowledge the rise of new personal knowledge management tools like Obsidian and Notion, having things in Markdown is kind of becoming table stakes. So I would say that's probably short term, the first way we're going to try to provide better integration for those guys. If you guys need something more than that, if you want a full-on plugin and an integration, write to us, tell us a little bit about your workflow. We'll consider it. Like, we really want to make sure that the workflow between LiquidText and your other tools is as close to frictionless as possible. That's really important for us. So the more information you give us, the better we can do.
I like that. Christian is asking, how many documents can I add in the same project in iOS or Windows?
In principle, it's unlimited. Since everything is cached on your device, even if you're using our web-based syncing and backup, you can't add more documents than your device can store, right? So if you have 3 gigs of free space on your device and you try to add 30 gigs of documents, that is not going to work. But other than that, it's unlimited. Like, the app is actually really smart. So like when I jump around back and forth between documents here and it seems like, it's just opening them instantaneously, it's actually not. Like, it keeps a few of them cached in memory and like resident in memory, so it can jump to them instantly. But if you open one that you haven't opened in a few minutes, you'll notice it takes a little longer to get it on the screen. That's because it's actually reloading it off of the disk. So the app tries to be really smart. We have folks who use LiquidText in legal and medical spaces with literally tens of thousands of pages and hundreds of documents. So there's no real limit there.
Nice. This one, you're gonna love it. Is it going to be possible to import a transcript time-coded to audio, like otter.ai, so that audio can be accessed from a link in LiquidText?
Man, I do like that question. Import a transcript coded to audio. I'll tell you, back in grad school, I did a bunch of this stuff when we were actually for LiquidText, when we were coding interviews with participants in our studies. It would have been wonderful to have something like that. I'll tell you, that's not on our roadmap right now. But there's no fundamental reason why. Like, ultimately, our vision is for LiquidText to be kind of the unifying glue or the unifying network between all of the content sources that you work with, certainly including audio and transcripts. So it's really just a matter of, if we get a bunch of people asking for it, then it's definitely on the table. But yeah, please, maybe post it on the forum later. See if we can get a few people talking about it. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the context. I'll tell you, one way or another, it's probably not something we're going to be able to add like super short term, but God willing, maybe next year. So again, more information, the better.
Very nice. A question from Christian. When we export the document to PDF in some programs, as Adobe works awesome, the option to skip to quote page, but in some drawboard, PDF doesn't work. What consideration do I need to take into account for selecting the PDF read program?
I hate to say it, but PDF is an awful format. Like, there are so many, I don't know if you've ever, I hope you haven't ever read the PDF spec. I've had the misfortune of skimming bits and pieces of it. It's a terrible format because it's really unclear. There's not unclear. There's so many different little nuances and corner cases and things, and different apps just implement it differently. And so the reality is, we've tried hard to work well in Apple Preview, Adobe, things like that. The long tail of different PDF readers is just way too much for us to try to work, to get everything working in all of them. So I would say, Adobe Reader. I mean, there's a lot of really good PDF readers out there, but I would say Adobe Reader is definitely, a good one that we generally try to keep standardized with.
Right. Oh, here there is a couple of people actually proposed this sort of use case.
Oh,
Can I create a small Excel on the side or allow two screens? One screen on one computer in LiquidText, one screen on another extended screen. Basically syncing across devices and across screening. Do you want to expand on that?
well, that is exactly what our syncing service provides. So there's two sides to that. Our Windows app in particular has a nice feature where you can actually separate out the workspace and have it pop up on your second screen, right? So if you, let's say, have, your little Windows laptop connected to your, 40-inch, let's say, little Microsoft Surface connected to your 50-inch, gigantic monitor, you can just say, snap the workspace off, put it up there. And so you can keep on doing your inking on the document while seeing the workspace on the big external monitor. In the probably more common case that you have two devices, you have your nice little iPad, and then you have, your big your big iMac connected to the big screen or with the big screen, then our syncing service is perfect for you, right? Because it's literally designed so that you can have the same project open on two computers at the same time, working with both of them in parallel.
Absolutely.
Did I answer that question right? For
me, yes.
I'm glad. Did I actually answer the question? Because I remember there was something about Excel at the beginning, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a piece.
No, I think that's perfectly fine, because the purpose of the question was, I believe, in terms of having multiple documents or basically dealing with LiquidText on several screens. So that's
okay.
that's
Excellent. Excellent.
Instead, let's go back to the tags. Jose Felipe is asking, can we sort comments only of two tags? Let's say we have 4 tags defined in various documents.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
I'm not sure I followed that question. Can I sort? If I have 4 tags defined in various documents, and then you want to sort by tag? Well, maybe just as a starting point. Right now, tags are localized to or are specified to only one project at a time. So if I have a totally 2 different LiquidText projects, like this one and the patent one from before, the tags from the patent one are not visible in this one. The tags from this one are not visible in the patent one. We've had some people ask about maybe changing that, and we're open to that. But right now, it's they're separated. But what was the other part of the question?
The ability to sort the comments by tag, which I think deals more on the organization of the workspace according to some specific criteria.
Yeah. That's a great question. That is something. So right now the answer is no, but the slightly more encouraging answer is this is something we're actively researching and looking into. We're like literally having internal design discussions and plans about what that would be and how that would work. So this isn't a thing that's going to be coming out in a month or two, but hopefully kind of a little bit longer than that, a little bit further out than that, maybe early next year, something along those lines. We absolutely want to have out some great features around that. So I would encourage you, please hop on the forum or contact us directly. Let us know as much as you can about your use case and what you want to do with that.
So very good. And Stephanie is more interested in again in the OCR feature, and is checking for a suggestion about how to deal with multiple languages simultaneously. For instance, can I work in a language that is not commonly used, doesn't exist in any kind of Google Translate format, for example?
Oh man, that's such a good question. So basically, can you generate the OCR files for a highly unusual language? Like, can you sort of build it yourself through, let's say, an AI model or something like that? No, I'm sorry to say we don't support that right now. The way our OCRing works is it integrates very, very closely with Windows and iOS respectively. There's a lot of advantages to doing that, particularly around keeping LiquidText, as a the LiquidText application itself as small as possible for faster downloading, using up less space, blah, blah, blah. One of the downsides to that, though, is we don't have a way of sort of creating our own custom OCR models. But I would say, yeah, and that let us know a little bit more about what your use case is. That's probably not something that we're going to be able to change anytime soon. But if we get a lot of people asking for it, we can always look into a different OCR system if it turns out this is something that's really important to people.
Very nice. So Terence is proposing a use case. Suppose you want to squeeze your document accordion style, highlighting all the occurrences of a particular tag. For example, I tag all the quotes from one author and now create a document squeeze that shows just items tagged for that author's quote. Do you want to spend a few words on how to do that perfectly and what's the best practice for that?
Yeah, let me show that. I think that should actually work here. Let's do a little bit of investigation or a little bit of demoing here. So, all right, so you see I hope it's still sharing my screen. You see I've made like 4 tags or so of this review correct tag in my document. So now let's go to search. We'll go to tags, we'll go to review correct, and let's go back to document search. And now if I squeeze, you see, ta-da, it brings together only the highlights that have that tag associated with them. So you already can do it today.
Nice.
It's nice after like all these features that we're planning to release in a year. Thanks. I'm glad someone asked for something we have today.
Right. Oh yes, if you want more feature requests, here is another one.
Here.
It would be useful to be able in certain case to export just the notes or just selected notes. Suppose, for example, that you want to export just the definitions that a certain author lays down, or you want to export just the quotation of a particular author you're interested in. Do you have any thought on that?
Well, you can, of course, do copy and paste. It's old-fashioned, but of course you can do copy to the clipboard and just paste it into the other app that you need. And it should include, I believe, even the citation at the bottom. If you want something a little bit, and again, as we saw before, you can, select a few and copy all of them. It'll copy all of them to the clipboard. If you want to take it, kind of to the next level and say, no, I want to select several hundred and have it exported as, as a docx or, hope in future markdown or whatnot, or PDF. Yeah, that we don't support right now. That's a really interesting use case. And I'd say tell us a little bit more.
Very nice. There is Happy Relax that is providing an interesting thought. Better set up a team with AR HoloLens or Meta 2. In 1-2 years, more people use AR glasses. In top universities, we use AR glasses more for science, engineering. AR glass for lawsuit and medical is also important. Do you want to spend a few words on this?
Are you looking for a job by any chance? Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to speak about that, but I'll say that is definitely an area that we're very interested in and doing, and I think I'll leave it there. But yes, thank you.
A couple of people are asking for an integration with the Kindle. Specifically, will LiquidText work with the Kindle ebooks?
No, I mean I haven't looked into this in a while. A few years ago, I spoke with one of the folks at Amazon, and we actually talked about this and whether we could kind of build a partnership so that we could get access to those things. And we were like it was just too complicated. We were not able to actually get the deal materialized. And so right now the answer is no. I don't know if Amazon has, maybe loosened up the requirements around that a little bit. But ultimately, I would very much like to have Kindle ebooks available in LiquidText. That would be great on a lot of levels. Like, it's ridiculous to have, your Kindle notes in one place and all of the other notes from all of your other materials in LiquidText able to be interconnected and linked, and Kindle in this little separate universe. So we would love to be able to do that. If any of you folks are working for Amazon and would like to, champion that, just send me an email afterwards.
They will do, I think. A couple more if we have still time.
Yeah, we can pull another couple minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, especially this one is raising a fair point. Listen to that. If the excerpts revealed by a search are scattered around a large workspace, it could be hard to manually select them all in order to copy them for pasting into another application. Do you have any suggestion?
No, and that's right. Right now, if you want just the excerpts that are a result of a search, it's going to be an awkward manual process. Like, this is a really interesting use case that honestly I hadn't considered. So I would say, tell us more about about that workflow and that use case. And I see there's a lot of interest in it today. This is really exciting. So please tell us more, and maybe we can give you what you need.
All right, I guess that's the time for the last one. That's a tough one, actually. Can a text string be searched for that it's expected to be in the file name of one of the PDFs in the left sidebar?
Right now, the search does not check the file name. But we had someone ask for that just a couple of days ago. It would not be particularly hard to add it. So we'll probably talk with the team and see if we can add that in one of the updates coming soon. But even for that, please just send us, a message or post in the forum just mentioning that you want that, so we can be sure to get that integrated into our feature request list, and that'll definitely improve our odds of being able to get it in an update. But that's a pretty easy one. We could probably include that in a feature update.
Right. And actually, I lied. You need to take the last one. Absolutely.
Oh, I can't miss the last one.
Yeah. Especially because Mark is our friend. Mark is asking, can you please describe again how to separate the displays on multiple monitors on Windows?
I can't show it to you, unfortunately, because I'm happen to be using the iPad here. But on Windows, when you go over to the workspace sidebar over here, you'll see one of the buttons does exactly that.
Yep. All right. Apologies, folks. There are so many other questions. I don't know if we have the time to answer to all of them. Absolutely, we will try to correspond. If you have any other question, please redirect to our support. Craig, do you want to close the
Yeah, I'll just say, again, reiterate, we're going to be sending out invites to our brand new forum. Again, you'll be some of the first people in there. So go and, start posting ideas, messages, questions. The only thing I'll say is technical support we don't do on the forum. So for technical support, please either use the in-app technical support button. There's the little question mark in the app, or just email us at support@liquidtext.net. But the forum is great for product ideas, feature suggestions, just generally discussion with us about the future of the product. And if for any reason you ever need to contact me directly, I'm just Craig@liquidtext.net. So let me say again, thank you all so much for coming, and thank you all for the great questions and great feedback, great ideas and suggestions. We're really excited to have a time to chat with you like this. We look forward to talking with you in the forums, and we look forward to hopefully giving you a lot of the things that you asked for very soon. Thank you all so much again.
Thank you. Bye-bye to everybody.
Good night.